Uh, Today we have the chapter process costing with us. It is the chapter number 3 in our costing textbook. This chapter has several parts we need to cover. First, the meaning of process costing, then the different types of loss or gain we can have in this chapter, that is extremely important, and lastly, the basic ledger or performers of this chapter, again an important concept. Rest is not really that important. It can, once you understand the basic ideology or logic behind how these performers or how these losses are and gains are calculated, you can easily figure out the rest of the chapter. So starting with the basic meaning. Now let's say you have a certain product to be manufactured, and it needs to go through several processes. Let's say I'm manufacturing sugar. The basic manufacturing process of sugar is to first convert sugar cane to jaggery or gur, which then gets converted into sugar. So that's a process. A specific process takes place wherein sugar cane gets converted into jaggery and then to sugar. So this process is, the costing which needs to be done for each of these individual processes as to how much cost is incurred in converting sugarcane to jaggery, or uh, how much cost is gone into converting jaggery to sugar, is called process costing. And later on, this sugar is sold in the market. So starting from sugar cane to sugar and then its sales, all of the costings involved in between is called process costing. Now I'll not be taking up the applicability or the features of it because it's a practical subject and we need to focus mainly on the practical aspect of it. I'll explain the basic flow of costs in the costing performers in this, just an overview, and then we'll study each of them in detail. Let's say we are talking about process A. In our example, that would be sugarcane to jaggery. So the direct materials gone into it, that would be the sugarcane, then the labor used to convert that sugarcane into jaggery, then any direct expenses incurred towards it, and factory overheads. This we'll have on the debit side, and on the credit side we have any normal loss, abnormal loss, and the balancing figure here, which gets transferred into the next process. Now why this balancing figure gets transferred into the next process? Let's say we manufacture 100 units, or if in monetary terms I'm supposed to write, let's say 10 lakhs. 10 lakhs worth of jaggery or 100 units of jaggery if manufacturing. I need to transfer this to the next process, that is conversion of sugar, for it to be able to convert it into sugar. Until and unless this jaggery has gone into the next process, we won't be able to convert it to sugar and produce it. So the balancing figure gets transferred to process B account. Again, wherein if we are using any other direct material, we'll add those, any direct wages for the second process, direct expenses, factory overheads. We'll add this over here. Now here you will see an abnormal gain, which I'll come on to later. Then again, normal loss, sale of byproduct. Let's say out of this 100 units, you are selling off 2 units. Here only, you have a buyer of this 2 units of jaggery and you are selling it off directly. So that's sale of byproduct. When you are selling this byproduct, you need to record it at cost. You record it at cost in your process B account, and the balancing figure again gets transferred to process C. We'll come on to abnormal gain later on, and you just need to know that it comes on the debit side. We'll discuss it later. And you need to note one thing: if you're having abnormal gain, you cannot have abnormal loss in the same account. If you're having abnormal gain, you cannot have abnormal loss, or if you're having abnormal loss, you cannot have abnormal gain. So you transfer the balancing amount to the process C account if there is any process C. You add direct material, direct labor, factory overhead, direct expenses. On credit side, you have normal loss, abnormal loss, and lastly, any balancing figure over here. Any balancing figure gets transferred to the finished stock account. Now, when any balancing figure gets transferred to finished stock account, that means this sugar is ready to be sold. This sugar is ready to be sold. So it's a finished stock account wherein you add the profit. You add the profit, and in case if there is any loss, you add that loss, and the rest is sold. Or if you don't add profit yourself, you'll be given about this. Be having information about this about sales. So you'll be writing by sales. You have the figure. Then the balancing figure would come out to be a profit. Your balancing figure would be profit. So you transfer your balancing figure from process B account to your process C or your last process account to your finished stock account. In case there is any normal loss, you write about normal loss. If there is not any normal loss, you ignore it. You add right by sales if there is any sales figure given to you, which usually there is. If not, then you just transfer it to process C account, your finished stock account, and close the account by sales, and then the profit figure as balancing figure. Now we need to calculate average cost per unit, and this is mostly done because there is another column in our question always we need to make, which is the quantity column. You have the rupees column, you need to also make the quantity column. Not only in one process account, but in all of them you need to create the quantity account. So how to calculate the cost of average cost per unit? So that will be the total cost, that is this, the debit side total cost minus. You need to exclude abnormal gain while calculating your total cost. Alright. So that would be your process A materials, direct wages, direct expenses, and factory overheads. Adding them all up, that would be your total cost minus scrap value of normal loss. So what is the scrap value of normal loss? Let's say in while manufacturing sugar in your this current process, you sold two units, and you have another 2 units of raw material which is not usable. It is you are it can't be used. You need to throw it away. So what you would do is you would give it to scrap vendor. The scrap vendor, let's say, is able to provide you with 1000 rupees per unit. So you would be getting 2000 rupees. So that would be your scrap value of normal loss, 2000 rupees in this particular case. And then you'll divide by the number of units you produced. You gave as input the number of units of input and the number of units of normal loss. That would provide you with average cost per unit. Moving on to our next part, and now we important part of the chapter starts. Normal loss, abnormal loss, and lastly abnormal gain. But before that, we'll just get done with these two topics: normal loss and abnormal loss. I have 4 examples for you written here. So the first one is, if we are producing 100 units for which we require 110 units of raw material. Let's say we are supposed to produce 100 units, and for that we know that we require 110 units. So what happens to those 10 units? I mean, this is the output and this is the input. It's 110 units less. The input is 10 units more than the output. So what happens to the 10 units? Where did they go? That is the normal loss. That is the normal loss, which means that no matter what, some or the other amount of units will not get manufactured. It will get used up in the manufacturing process. In the manufacturing process, these 10 units get used up, and hence you consider it as a normal loss. You cannot get any uh, relevant output, any productive output from these 10 units. Taking the second example, let's say we are transporting oil from Mumbai to Pune, 1000 liters. But when it reaches Pune, only 990 liters of oil reaches is able to reach Pune. So what happens to these 10 liters? It gets spilled. These 10 liters of oil get spilled in between. It Many a times what happens is when the truck carrying or the containers which are carrying it often have small holes in them, due to which the oil starts dripping, and only 990 liters of oil is able to reach Pune. So this 10 liters of oil, due to experience, you are able to understand that this 10 liters of oil, no matter what, cannot be prevented. Cannot be prevented from spilling. You can reduce it, but you cannot completely eliminate it. You cannot completely eliminate. You can reduce it, maybe to 10 liters. From 10 liters you can bring it down to 8 liters or 6 liters. You can reduce it but not completely eliminate it. So hence this 10 liters would again be your normal loss. But let's say now, this considering these two examples, I'll take the fourth one first. You know that uh, after giving an input of 110 units, you are able to produce output of 100 units. So your normal loss is 10. But what if after giving 110 units of input, you only get 80 units as output? What happens to those 30 units? Those 30 units then become your not only those 30 units, they can be bifurcated into two. One is 10 units of normal loss and 20 as abnormal loss. So we are able to derive a formula that would be input minus output. Let's say 110, output is 80 units, that leaves us with 30. Then what is the normal loss? That would be 10 again, leaving us 20, which gives us abnormal loss. So this becomes the formula of abnormal loss. Input minus output minus normal loss is equal to abnormal loss. Now another example which I'll take is of the oil truck. Let's say our oil truck falls down in between and all the 1000 liters of fuel or oil is wasted. So that becomes your abnormal loss. Not the whole 1000 liters, only 990 liters, because in the previous illustration you can see that 10 units, 10 liters is your normal loss. Again, using the same formula, 1000 liters is the input, output is 0, leaving us with 1000, out of which you know that your normal loss is 10 units, leaving us with 990 liters over here of abnormal loss. So if you see over here, the formula is given: input minus normal loss is expected output minus actual output is equal to abnormal loss. I have just uh, rearranged the formula. You can take normal loss above, you will get expected output minus actual output, you will get abnormal loss. So the formula remains same, just you can rearrange the order. You understood normal loss, and I have already explained the basic ledger postings. I will explain why they go there later on. Now, at what rate do we charge abnormal loss? Normal loss, you know, we can charge it as the scrap value. Normal loss at scrap value. But what if there is the scrap value is 0? Then in the question you write the scrap value of normal loss as 0. That is over here. On the credit side you write it as 0. Okay, so at what rate should we charge the abnormal loss? The cost of the total process minus scrap value of normal loss divided by input in units minus normal loss in units. That will give you the actual abnormal loss per unit. So if I am supposed to write it down, the cost of the total process, assuming that our cost over here becomes rupees 10 per unit. Alright, and scrap value let it be rupees 1 per unit. So input is of 110. That would make our total cost as 1100 minus scrap value of 10 units. So what we do is we subtract 10, divide by the input in units. How many units did we input? 110 minus normal loss in units, and normal loss we found out was 10, again 10. So that would give us 1090 divided by 100, that is equal to 10.90. Therefore 10.90 is the rate at which we charge abnormal loss. And if you see in this illustration 4, we had 20 units of abnormal loss. So we charge 20 units at 10.9, at the rate of 10.9. That would give us rupees 218. So I'll just create a basic process account for you with rupees and quantity both. I'll write the total cost at 10 rupees per unit. So I'm assuming all cost to sundry expenses. How many units did we input? 110. 110 at a cost of 10 rupees per unit. So that would give us 1100. We know our normal loss, and even normal loss of 10 units at scrap value of 1, that would give us 10. So hence 10 units at 1 rupee rate is 10. We also got to know that we had incurred an abnormal loss of how much? 20 units. And at what rate? 10.9. That would give us 218. Here we calculated. So 20 units at 218. So how much do we transfer to the next process? Simple. 110 units at 1100, that would be the total. Here also 110 units. Subtracting this we get 80, which we found out over here. 80 units manufactured to the next process. So what we do is 1100 minus 218 minus 10. That would give us 872. This would now change our average cost. This would now change our average cost to what? 872 divided by 80 units which were manufactured. That comes out to be 10.9. So if you see that no matter what, the rate at which abnormal loss was taken, or the amount to the next process which goes, remains the same, 10.9, 10.9. Whereas the average rate per unit was 10 rupees per unit. Our cost has increased. Reason being that we lost 10 units. We lost them. We lost 10 units. Before we had lost those 10 units as normal loss, our cost would have remained the same. If we hadn't lost those 10 units, our cost would have remained nearly same. If not exactly same, our cost would have remained nearly same. Now that we have lost 20 units, additional 20 units, our cost has substantially increased to what? 10.9, that is by 90 paise per unit. Our cost has increased. I understand that this concept is a little tricky. I'll do a quick revision. Normal loss is the loss of which we are aware it will happen no matter what. It happens under normal circumstances. That loss happens under normal circumstances. It is an inevitable loss. You cannot avoid it. You cannot avoid it. No matter what, that loss will happen. Whereas abnormal loss, you can try to minimize it. It could happen due to labor strike. If labor goes on strike, you will incur cost. You won't be producing goods, but you will incur cost. You could uh, be, you could have a breakdown of machinery or power failure or accident, like I explained over here, or your oil truck spilled. So you lost all the oil. It became a loss for you. It is a avoidable loss. How can you avoid it? You can insure it. You can take insurance. You can take insurance for it, or you could take preventive steps for it. Let's say if you are somewhere aware about that labor strike is going to happen, you could find out the reason why it is going to happen. Let's say if it is going to happen because of wages, then you'll evaluate that either I increase the wages, that's option one, or I let them go on strike. That would result me into going into abnormal loss. I need to evaluate which cost is higher. Let's say that they are demanding wage increase by 100. I mean my total cost would be 100 to them and my abnormal loss is 90. Then what would I do? That would minimize my cost. I would let them go on strike. They will go on strike. I will incur a loss of 90 instead of incurring a loss of 100. Or if it's vice versa, their wage increase total cost is 90 and my abnormal loss is coming out to be 100, then I would increase their wages and not let them go on strike. In this case it was reverse. So you need to evaluate. It is not in your syllabus, but I'm just giving you a general overview of it. You need to evaluate the offer or the perspective or any measure that gives you even a comparative benefit to the cost which is being incurred due to abnormal loss. Then next we have another important concept, that is of abnormal gain. Abnormal gain, to be for us to be able to find out, is slightly tricky, because what happens is, let's say we are putting in 100 units and getting an output of 110. That does not usually occur. Abnormal, you don't have any concept like normal gain, alright? You need to know that first. You do not have any concept of normal gain. Let's say you hire skilled labor. I'm going to add a new page over here. Let's say you hired a skilled labor, new group of skilled labor. Which figured out a way that when you input 100 units, you get output of 110 units. But this only happened once. They were not able to do it again. Even in the third or fourth, fifth time also, they were not able to do it again. They only were able to do it once. Rest all the times they produced 100 out of 100. That does not give you any even a normal loss or abnormal loss. Rest all the times they only got 100 for 100. So this time they were able to give 10 extra. This 10 extra is your abnormal gain. These 10 units are your abnormal gain. So if you see over here, you have 10 units of abnormal gain. How would you treat it? At what cost would you charge it? So again, we have a formula: cost of the process, all the amounts on the debit side, minus any scrap value for normal loss, which again in this example we did not incur, but it may happen. Let's say you know that these are not 100, these are 90, so you will incur a normal loss of 10 and you have a scrap value for it, so it would go the other way around. Or the example could be in another way also, that let's say your, I'll just write it down only. Let's say you have standard output of 90, input of 100. For once you put in 100, you got 95. You put in 100, you got 90. You put in 100, you got 92. So at this point you had a normal loss of 10, you had an abnormal gain of 5. That would give you a standard loss of 5. You could either, you cannot write it this way, you have to write it separately. You have to write it separately. You have to write it separately. Normal loss of 10 units, abnormal gain of 5 units. Here you only have a normal loss of 10 units. Here again you have a normal loss of 10 units and an abnormal gain of 2 units. There could be another case wherein you have only 80 units of output. So you have normal loss of 10 units and abnormal loss of 10 units. So there is a way for us to be able to calculate at what rate this needs to be charged. Cost of the process minus scrap value divided by input minus normal loss units. Same as above. The same formula which we used over here is being used in abnormal gain also. Once again, there is no such thing as normal gain. There is no thing as normal gain. Reason being, if let's say you are seeing a continuous gain of 110 units, so that becomes your normal production. It becomes your normal production, wherein you put 100 units, get output of 110 units. If you're following the same pattern for a long time, it would become your normal production pattern. You cannot always categorize it as abnormal gain. You could do it once, you could do it twice, but not always. If it has become your normal production pattern, then anything more than that, let's say if over in the 5th year you produced 112 units, then 2 units would be your abnormal gain. Or let's say if you produced 107 units, then here 3 units would be your abnormal loss. I hope this is clear till now. Now this is the actual basic performer of your process account, everything that goes into it, everything you may need for it, and how to calculate. I will explain each and everything. So if this is not the first process, it is the second or the third or any other process other than the first one, you will have a balance from the previous process account. Now the quantity and the amount, you need to take it as it is from the previous account. Let's say if from the previous year you are having 10 units, 100 rupees, then you need to transfer this amount as it is. You cannot change it. 10 units and 100 units, you have to transfer it as it is. You cannot change it. Then any raw material quantity and at whatever rate it is being purchased or taken, you have to take it at that rate. Wages, always remember there is no quantity. Factory overhead, remember there is no quantity. You have to just add the given amount, the total amount for it. Let's say if you are said that labor charges 10 rupees per unit. Then you are not going to write units here. You are not going to write 10 rupees per unit. Instead, you will write the total amount. Let's say there are 100 units. You will write the total amount of 1000 in the outer column, that is the rupees column. Then same goes for factory overheads. Abnormal loss will come on to later. Normal loss, simple calculations. You will be given in the question that there is a normal loss incurred. So you know the quantity of normal loss. The question will say that the standard production pattern is after inputting 110 units, you get 100 units of output. You can figure out that the normal loss is 10 units. You take normal loss quantity as 10 units. But what about the rate? In case there is no rate mentioned in the question, the amount column goes blank. If there is a rate given, you multiply this quantity with the rate, you get the total, you put it in the outer column. The weight lost, the scrap, the sale of byproduct. These three, the treatment shall be same. I'll explain one and you'll figure out the rest. Weight loss and scrap. I'll explain one to you and you will be able to figure out the rest. If there is any weight, that means any product loss in case of in terms of their weight, like for example in my given illustration, your oil had spilled 10 liters. 10 liters is not only a measurement of is not a measurement of weight, but it is a measurement unit. It is a unit of measurement. So what will happen is that you lost 10 liters, but you cannot sell it as scrap. You cannot sell it as scrap because that 10 liters got spilled. You cannot go on the road, you cannot go on the Mumbai Pune highway collecting those tiny droplets, of the oil which was spilled there. So that 10 liters of weight or oil lost can only be written in quantity and not in amount. And as for scrap and sale of byproduct, it is simple. You will be given what amount of scrap or what amount of byproduct is sold and at what rate. You just have to multiply those and write the quantity and amount over here. There is no complex mathematics involved, a simple multiplication of the given quantities in the very given question. You will have each and everything available, each and every information available to yourself just to be able to multiply it and inputting the quantity over here. Then we have abnormal loss. Before abnormal loss, I like to take the next process or the process stock account. The process stock account over here is also referred to as your inventory or finished goods account. In finished goods accounts, you transfer any, the treatment for next process or process account is same. The balancing figure which needs to be transferred to the next process or your inventory, that is your finished goods over here, whatever needs to be transferred goes here. The quantity will be given as balancing figure and the rate you can either calculate it by this formula or the balancing figure again. If not given in the question, you can calculate the rate and then multiply it with the quantity you found out and the total amount which is there. Now remember that not always will you have both next process and uh, process stock account. You won't have both at the same time. You may have either one of them, because let's say you have 100 units of output in one process, you transfer it to the next, you transfer 100 units, you manufacture 90 out of it. You may either transfer it to next process or inventory depending upon whatever production pattern the factory has to follow. If the factory requires this to go under additional processing, then you transfer the 90 units there. Or if this is finished stock, you transfer it to inventory or finished stock account or sale account, or whichever is given, whichever condition is given in the question. So you may transfer 90 here or 90 there. There is a very slim possibility that you will have both next process and a process stock account. Now as to abnormal loss, you will be given that the standard input is 110 units, standard output is 100 units, but we manufactured 80 units. For second scenario, we manufactured 110 units. Either of the cases I am taking, wherein over here you have abnormal loss, and you have 10 units of abnormal gain. If you have abnormal gain, you transfer it here. At what rate? At the rate which you calculated. And what about 20 abnormal loss? You transfer the 20 abnormal loss on the credit side. At what rate? Again, the rate we calculated. This rate remains the same for most of your items other than for those which is already specified in the question. Then I already discussed next process and process stock. This is an unusual item. You don't usually get it in the question. I'll explain it to you. Give me a second. By profit and loss account or finished goods in case of last process. What does this actually mean? You are transferring it to profit and loss account if this is the case of sale, and you are transferring it to finished goods account if this is the last process. If this is your last process, then you transfer it to finished goods account. Why? You must be wondering why this process stock and finished goods sound similar. Sale, you may have understood that if you sell the goods, you will be transferring it to P&L. Any profit arising out of that sale, you will be transferring to P&L. And what rate? I'll explain the rates. The quantity which is sold and the rate at which it is sold. That will be the amount at which we are transferring it. Now, this one, the finished goods and process stock. Now, what happens is that, let's say, the year ended. This is your process 2, let's say, and there are total 3 processes. So 1, 2, and it was supposed to go into third process, but the year ended over here. Now the balance of this, and there is some balance in this account also. This will go into process stock account. Why? Because next year when the account opens, this needs to be transferred to the third process, and this needs to be transferred to the finished goods. If this is the last process, it goes into finished goods. If not the last process, it goes into process stock account. I hope you understood this. I'll explain it once again. If we are making the performer of the very last process, let's say out of 1, 2, 3, we need to make 3 different performers. So what would happen is, this is the last process, it will go into finished goods. These are not the last processes, these will go into process stock account individually. Process stock account for process 1, process stock account for process 2. These will go out separately. At what rates and what quantity? The quantity which, the balancing quantity which is there, the balancing quantity at the calculated rate. When you multiply it, you will have the amount in the outer column. I hope you understood this. Now, this makes us eligible to be able to solve questions easily. If you may just go through these once if you want to, but I have more or less covered all the concepts, all the basic concepts over here. So it's the performer of a normal loss account. If you have understood the basic format for preparing the performance, that is process account A, B and C and whatever the case may be, and you understood how the balances are transferred in each of them, you will easily be able to make out what the other side performer looks like. For example, let's say we have written in process B normal loss. So when we make the normal loss account, on the debit side we are going to have process B. Over here we have normal loss, so we are going to have process A. Let's say we are making performer for abnormal gain. We have abnormal gain in process B, so we'll write process B. This is for abnormal gain, this is for normal loss. Let's say we have for abnormal loss too. Abnormal loss is in process C, so we'll write 2 process C. We have normal loss in process C, we'll write 2 process C. Let's say we have normal loss in finished stock account, we'll write 2 finished stock account. We do not have any normal loss, we have a profit, so we'll make a standard costing P&L and we'll transfer by finished stock account profit. As simple as that. You need to know basic accounting concept and the general rate calculation as to how rates are calculated in costing, and you will be able to easily solve the process costing question. I'll just take up one or two questions wherein, let's say, a normal loss is given. In a factory, a product passes through two processes, A and B. So we know that we have two processes, A and B. During the month of March 2010, certain number of units costing rupees 10 per unit were introduced into process A. So before even reading the question, we can easily start making the process account. We have the rupees column and we have the quantity column on both sides. This is the process A account. So we have two raw materials. How much? We know right now, we only know the rate 10 per unit. All right, no problem. The other cost were 2850. 855 units were completed and transferred into process B at the end of the month, and nothing was in process, so we don't need to transfer to process stock account. At the year end, everything is clear. We can either transfer it to finished goods or whatever the question has asked us to do. Assuming normal loss of 10% of input, assuming normal loss of 10% input is allowed in process A. That means if the total input is 100, there is a normal loss of 10% in process A, that leaves us with 90, and realizes 4 per unit. That means scrap value is 4 per unit. We had 10 units of loss. 10 into 4, we know the scrap value. Alright, by normal loss we know at 4 rupees. So don't take this as relevant figure. We only know the percentage of normal loss, not the actual units. Assuming that there was no abnormal loss or gain in the process, so we are given that no abnormal loss took place or no abnormal gain took place. So our items are fairly similar to other costs, which are given as 2850. We don't have any quantity over here. We know that the rest of the material is going to be transferred to process B. At what rate, we need to find out at a later stage. So we are given that 855 units were transferred to process B. So we can write this down, 855 units. Now if 855 units were transferred, that would mean that 855, we are subtracting what? Normal loss over here, and this is the actual input. We don't know either of these, but we do know that this is 10%. If this is 10% and this is 100%, that would leave us with this as 90%. That would mean that this figure, that is our transferred figure, here the process B figure which we need to transfer is 855 units we are given, is equal to 90% of the total input. So we can easily cross multiply. when that would give us the equation 855 into 100 divided by 90. When you calculate that, it gives us 950. That would mean we have 950 as input. 10% of 950 is 95. That would give us 855 when you calculate it. So we got it that this is 950, this is 95. Now we know that 95 units are scrap value. At scrap value, which is 4 rupees per unit, that would give us 380. And raw material, we are aware that was purchased at 10 rupees per unit, so it gives us 9500. And when you total it up, you will get 9500 plus 2850. Over here we have 12350 minus 380, which is the normal loss. It gives us the transfer to process B as 11970, which we can check from here, 11970. This is the basic requirement for solving this particular question. Next, I'll take up a question which has both normal and abnormal loss given to us, and I will solve it in a full scale page. Let us read the question. From the information given below, prepare process A an abnormal loss account. Okay, so seems fairly easy. We have 1000 tons at 125 per ton, which were initially introduced in the process. So if we are making process A account, quantity and rupees, process A account, we know that we were given raw material, how much? 1000 tons at 125 rupees. So that would give us 1,25,000. Alright, then we know wages were 28,000. To wages 28,000. We don't need to write any quantity. We are given factory overheads, how much? 8,000. Again, we don't need quantity. Then we have normal wastage, that's 5% of the total amount. That would mean normal loss. 5% of the initial material which was input, that is 5%. That means 5% of 1000 tons is 50 units. We are still not aware that if there is any scrap value or not. So let's leave the outer column for right now. We know output is 830 units. So let us write to process B, how much? 830 units. We are not aware of the rate at which we need to take it. So let us hold that thought for a second. Then normal scrap. Alright, normal scrap. 10% of the initial quantity introduced. Now we know that there is a normal scrap too. The scrap always goes out. That would give us the scrap value 80 per ton, and normal is 10%, which would mean 100 units at 80. That would give us 800. And as of now the question is complete, so we are aware that there is no value for normal loss. Okay, we can start to total up. What? We need to total the quantity first. How? Let me just write this separately, quantity and rupees. I gave you a formula in the starting that was input minus output minus normal loss. That would give us abnormal loss. But in the question we are also given normal scrap. What to do about that? We are not sure what to do about that. So let us take a look at it. Let us try solving without it, and let's see if we are able to reach where we want to reach. So input is 1000 units, output is 830 units. We are left with 170. out of which 50 units are 50 units are our normal loss. That would leave us 120. But if you take 120 as abnormal loss, let me write 120 over here. That would mean that we are actually producing more than what we had input earlier. We are producing almost 100 units more. This would come up to be 1100 and this would come up to be, the total would be 1000. So we are producing 100 units extra. So what we need to do is we need to subtract the normal scrap 2, which is 100 units. That would give us the abnormal loss value as 20. We have the abnormal loss with us 20. Let us write this abnormal loss down, 20 by abnormal loss. We are still not aware of the rate, so let's hold that thought for a second and we can simply close the total quantity column. That was easy. The quantity column was easy for us. We only need to find out one thing and then we'll be easily able to calculate the rate for the process account and the abnormal loss rate for the, again, for the process A account. Now the formula I gave you for rate was also easy. The total input amount, that is 1,25,000 plus 28,000 plus 8,000 minus any scrap. We have scrap as 800 divided by the normal in the desired output quantity. You see here, you can find out the formula for rate. The input minus normal loss units. So we have the input as how much? 1000 units, and the normal loss. Not only do we consider normal loss over here, but also normal scrap. So we would have 150 as our rate. Now totaling this is 125 plus 28,000 plus 8,000 minus 800, which is divided by 850, would give us rupees 188.47 as our rate. Just sorry, I made a mistake over here. We have 100 units at 80 per ton. That would give us 8,000. I made a mistake. Subtracting 8,000, our rate would now come out to be slightly different. 125 plus 28,000 divided by 850. That would give us a rate of 180 per unit. So now 180 per unit into abnormal loss of 20 and 180 per unit into 830. So over here we get 149,400 and over here we get 3,600. When you total it, the totaling will be same, 125 plus 28 plus 8,000, 161, and on the other side we have 8,000, again 161. You can check the totaling for yourself. And as for the abnormal loss account, I'll just explain it from here. We wrote the abnormal loss on the credit side of process A account. So on the debit side of abnormal loss account, we are going to have two process A account, 20 tons, total rate 3,600. Now it is given to us that these were sold. These were sold. Were they? The question is, these were sold or not? Simple, it is to be assumed that they were sold. How much? All of it, 20 tons. At what rate? At the normal scrap rate, 80 tons. That would give us 1,600. That would give us 1,600. And the balancing figure goes to costing P&L. How many tons? 0. Tons wise 0, but the loss of 2,000 rupees which we have to take a hit for. Now the same Similar calculations can be done for uh, normal normal gain also, so I won't be taking up that question. If you have any doubt, please reach out to me. Thank you.